We're aging. We're aging every day, every moment, every year. It's inevitable. Question is, why? In the last video, we talked about some of the reasons why we age. Let's do a few more now. Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Schimpff. This is part of a continuing series that I'm calling Aging Gracefully. So this time, let's talk about the gut microbiome, free radical damage, a little bit about DNA winding and unwinding. Let's start with the gut microbiota. You may not have heard that term before, but what it means is it's the bacteria that are in our intestines, basically. Well, actually also in our mouth and our stomach. But let's focus on the large intestine, the colon. It turns out there are literally trillions of bacteria there. If you could weigh them, they'd weigh somewhere between a half a pound or maybe 2 pounds. It may make you a little uncomfortable to know that. When you have a bowel movement, about 75% of that bowel movement is bacteria. Another reason to wash your hands afterward. But they have a lot of functions. We live in a sort of symbiotic relationship with those bacteria. We need to have them. They need to have us. They protect us from harmful bacteria that might be passing through, that was in our food, for example. They synthesize some vitamins that are important to us. They degrade the fiber that we eat, which is so important in our diets. They are very important in stimulating the immune system. And they produce some compounds which are very important to the integrity of our intestinal lining. One of the compounds that's produced is called butyrate. Butyrate's needed to prevent inflammation. Inflammation, we know, is not only harmful to our bodies, but it's really believed that it has an impact on the aging process. Just how isn't clear, but it has an impact. And so there's this belief that if we can affect our gut microbiota such that they reduce that level of inflammation, that's going to be to our advantage. Let's turn now and talk about free radicals. You probably know the term. It's a little hard to describe in just a few seconds, but basically any atom or molecule wants to have a fixed number of electrons floating around it. And if one of those gets pulled away for some reason, that atom or molecule becomes very reactive. It's interested in finding its electron. It wants its electron. In the process, it can damage things. It can damage DNA. It can damage mitochondria. It can damage other things within the cell. This is going on all the time, and it can be reversed by the cell usually, but some damage just accumulates. Over time it accumulates. And by the way, antioxidants can get in the way. It can give back that electron that it's looking for and stop the reaction. And we'll come back to the idea of antioxidants as a mechanism to slow aging, but not for right now. Let's look also at DNA winding. You know that DNA is this double helix, and I think of it at least as two circular stairs wrapped within each other. And those circular stairs could be very tightly wrapped together. You know, if you were to walk up, you'd be going up a tiny little narrow tunnel, or they could be very wide, and it could be, you know, a slower rate of going up. Well, it turns out that when the DNA is normally pretty tightly wrapped together, or wound together, but it loosens up over time with aging. And it's believed that when it gets looser like that, some genes aren't expressed as well as they used to be, and others are expressed that did not used to be expressed. And the net effect of that is a part of the aging process. So we've then got this idea of the bacteria in our guts, the free radicals, the DNA loosening, and some of the other things we talked about in an earlier video. But again, nobody really knows why we age. Or at least somebody may know, but in general there's not total agreement on why. So we have a lot of different theories, and they're all very interesting. They're worth learning more about, and I think we'll learn a lot more in the coming years, just in a very few years, because there's a lot of effort going into it. But next time, let's look at whether or not there's a biologic clock. Do we have a clock ticking inside of us that's going to ring a bell at a certain time and say good night? Let's look at that.